Hi, it's Mr. Crane here. It is March 31st, last day of March, and I'm sure several of you have questions about this erosion PowerPoint. The end of our quarter is Friday, April the 2nd. It's my birthday. Hey, happy birthday to me. I need you to, I'm going to make a video today to help you out, just so that you understand what is required, especially if you're a virtual student. So if you'll go back to 3/17/2021, and you'll open up the Erosion Classroom PowerPoint. And I have that open for you right now. So I'm going to open that up for you and let you see it. Okay. So if you open this up, you'll see the content objective and the learning objective. But if you start going through here, you'll learn the differences between weathering and erosion. Weathering is the physical breakdown, and the erosion is the physical removal from its original place of origin. You have different types of weathering. You have chemical and physical. You have different types of erosion. As you'll learn, I teach 5 types of erosion. All erosions can fall into the same, or in these 5 categories. Water is the main engine for all of them. So physical weathering, make sure you know the difference between physical and chemical. So physical is the disintegration or disaggregation of rocks via mechanical processes, where chemical is actually breaking down the chemical structure of whatever material it is. So physical, ice wedging. This is that age-old rock, paper, scissors. And in this case, you learn that paper, a tree or root or whatever, does beat rock. So that is physical root wedging, where it moves it. One of my favorite TV shows, MacGyver. One of the episodes, he used water, and he would freeze the water to move a rock, and it would fall down into a canyon and block the army that was trying to get him. And I thought that was so amazing, because water is not like other materials where when you freeze something it contracts. Water actually expands. And so if you're looking at this particular setting here, and you got water that goes down into these cracks, and then it freezes, it opens it up. And when it opens it up, it splits it apart. All right. So this is in Yellowstone National Park. You can see, if you look at this as the whole picture, you can see this is kind of like onion layers, and it starts to pull apart, and as it freezes, and it pulls off in round layers called spheroidal weathering. And this is Half Dome right here. And you can see, if you look at it as a whole, and you can see this little tiny ladder running up here that you can hike up this mountain, but it is coming off in sheets, and these are part of those sheets that are coming off like that onion layer. This is an example of spheroidal weathering. This is also an example of glaciation. Here's chemical weathering. So you have 3 different types of chemical weathering: dissolution, hydrolysis, oxidation. So the reason we're going through this PowerPoint right now is because I want you on your PowerPoint presentation to go through this PowerPoint, and I want you to look through each slide and try to determine what happened to our local landslide behind the activity center. Again, if you haven't gone there, go see it. You don't have to go see it. I've put pictures up there for you, but try to figure out what caused it. What looks like that landslide, and was it a mass movement? Was it a whole slab piece type of thing, or did it just eventually particle by particle move down the hill or whatever? You try to figure it out. Erosion. Gravity is the driving force. Water is a driving force. Water is what makes all erosion occur, but gravity pulls everything from areas of higher concentration to lower concentration. So it will want to seek equilibrium. Here is a mass movement. You see all this rock that's up here, and as it breaks down, it frost wedges or whatever, it just starts to fall down to here, and you got this nice little debris field down here. It's called breakdown. Then you have this other mass movement. 4 ways a mass movement may occur is by landslide. So you have this huge piece of wall here, and it falls down in here. My question for you is, can you take this piece of wall and move it back into its original place so that it looks like this original piece? This would be no. You couldn't take that because it's all fallen apart. This really saturated hillside, it looks like it's some clay right there, has dropped into this probably an ocean area or a lake area, and it's not going to be able to ever be restored. You have a mud flow. Here's a mud flow where it becomes so saturated with water that same hillside like this comes down as mud flow and water. And then you have a slump where you have a massive piece breaks off and slides down in one whole sheet. And it says that a rock and soil suddenly slips down a slope. This is different from a landslide because it comes down in one large mass. So this piece right here could be slid back up into its place. Not that it ever would, but it's different than this slide right here where you definitely couldn't move that back up. Okay, then you have creep. If you look at the angle of these trees, see how they're starting to bend? See the angle of that tree? Well, the tree's going to seek the sun regardless of how it's attached to the ground. And so you can see that the ground has started to move and the tree continues to upright itself and seek the sun. So that's creep. And then you have different types of water erosion by streams, by rivers. You have floodplains, meandering, oxbow lakes. An oxbow lake is this river right here starts to move back and S back and forward, and it starts to cut away the banks. And you eventually get, if you click on that, you actually can go to, here's an oxbow right here. So you can't see it right yet, but just see how that river winds around. Well, eventually this area right here will get cut off. And when it gets cut off, the river will cut through there and make a shortcut. Remember, everything moves from high concentration to low concentration, so it'll take the easiest path. It'll cut this off, and this will connect, and this right here will dry up. This will dry up and leave this little moon-shaped type of, see that right there? See that little crescent moon right there? So this is where the river cut this off and it filled sediment in here, and then this dried up. And this is called an oxbow. You can see some of them right here where the stream used to be. This is water used to come here and cut across and eventually cut itself off. And then this, sometimes these are even lakes. If you go to South Arkansas, there's a couple of lakes like Lake Catherine, and there's another one called, I'm trying to think, not Lake Hamilton. Catherine's one, and Lake Village. That whole lake is from a river that's cut itself off. So it's kind of neat. All right, streams are meandering. Meandering means they wind back and forth. This is Yellowstone National Park. This is Yellowstone River, lower falls, fast moving. V's in valleys are cut by rivers. And if you are looking on a map, the V points to the source of the stream. So if this were a map and we laid it out on a map and you looked at it, the V itself would point back to the direction the stream comes from. So it just forms V shape. There's different. Grand Canyon, V shape. Water erosion. Oof. This is Niagara Falls. I've actually stood right here on this edge right here. It's amazing, amazing. Water cuts through soft rock. Actually, it's crazy. Is about 60%, 70% of this water on Niagara is actually pumped around this waterfall. So it actually goes through these little pipes that are over here on these buildings you see, and it lets it way downstream. It lets it release. And if they allowed the full volume of water come over those falls, it would destroy the falls. So that's why they divert it, and they create hydroelectric power. So there's a picture during the winter, and then during the summer, up there is the Canada side, and over here is the America side. All right, then we have chemical erosion. Chemical erosion is what creates our caves and our sinkholes. I'm a big caver in Arkansas, and caves are closed right now because of white nose syndrome. But last week I took my family and we went to Carlsbad, New Mexico, went through the Carlsbad Caverns, and that entire cave, the whole cave, was created by dissolving of the material that was there before. So the little small wildlife that lived there before that collapsed on itself, died, and just made layers, calcium carbonate, water percolates and circulates through the ground and dissolves it and opens up big caverns. This is glaciation. Did our landslide back there behind the activity center, did it occur by glaciation? Probably not. So here's another picture of a glacier. It's this U-shaped valley. There's the glacier, what's left, and it's retreated, it's melted, and it used to go here, and this is all glacial water. So more glaciers. These are called cirques, glaciers. This is glacial retreat. Hanging valleys. So you got water that cuts it down, you see the V, and then it just drops off. That's called a hanging valley. This is, again, you see that U shape? That U shape is from glaciers. So any U-shaped valley is glaciers. Glacier retreats, U-shaped valleys. That's all glaciers. So this over here, glaciers. Glaciers, glaciers, and more glaciers. And then finally, wind erosion, which is our weakest form. Deflation, picking up and carrying away small particles. Sand dunes in the ocean. I don't know why that didn't show. But sand dunes in the ocean. Sand dunes in the ocean. Sand dunes in the desert. My bad. Sand dunes in the desert. So those are all examples of it. I want you to go over the slides yourself. Figure out what happened to our pictures. So I'm going to minimize this and go to our erosion. PowerPoint outside classroom. I think it's this one. Let me see. Maybe it's this one. Let's look at it. I'm not really sure if it's this one. So look at the images that I provided for you. Go through the PowerPoint, figure out what occurred. It's not this one. Where your erosion created that particular type of erosional landform. Figure out where it came from, what it was, classify it, put that in yours. So you need a PowerPoint presentation that covers wind, water, chemical, glacial, wind, water, chemical, glacial. There's 5. I was drawing blank. And anyway, make your presentation according to that. So good luck. I think it's right here in 5.2 Erosion Lab. Here's where you can get your images from. And we'll let that pop up before I end this. So take these images right here, or come up to school and take your own images of it and put those into your presentation where you think it occurred. Did it happen in glacier? Did it happen in shoreline, beach? That's the one I forgot. Did it happen in wind, water, or chemical? You decide. And then realize that there is a rubric right here. This is what I'm going to be grading your assignment off of. Come up with your PowerPoint presentation presented to me, and I will grade off of that. Virtual students, unless you want to videotape your presentation and send it to me, I will not grade this part right here, which is your presentation grade. I will call that your presentation overall, all right, and still give you a grade on that. All right, have a good one, and